And I would like to welcome to the stage the CEO of the American Wind Energy Association, Tom Kiernan. Welcome, Tom.
Well, Jana, thank you very much for that warm welcome. And I do want to add my welcome to Clean Power 2020. Thank you all for joining us for these virtual remarks and panel discussion. And thank you, Jana, again for launching us and emceeing us today. As you mentioned, when we announced at Wind Power last year that we would be doing Clean Power 2020, we knew it would be different. We sure didn't think it would be this different with all of us working remotely. So first, regarding COVID, I do hope everyone is staying healthy, both physically and emotionally, with all that you are balancing in your lives these days. I also would like up front to add my voice to those that are mourning the unjust death of George Floyd by a police officer. Without question, we have some enduring injustices in our country that we must address in a genuine and sustained way. Within AWEA and with our board, we have just begun a discussion yesterday at the board meeting in consideration of what this means for the industry and for AWEA. We know we too must improve. So there is a lot more to discuss and to bring forward and to engage with the industry following his death. So more to come on that front. For the remainder of my remarks, what I would like to do is use a frame, the broad frame of the past, the present, and the future to help us keep all of our current economic challenges in perspective and remind ourselves of the broader megatrends that are transforming the electric sector. So as to the past, actually, I'm not going far back, actually just to 2019 and focus on the extraordinary year that was 2019, even though it feels so long ago, but it was a great year just several months ago. A few summary points from 2019. We surpassed 100 gigawatts of wind energy deployed throughout the US, and wind energy became the #1 renewable energy source in America. The fundamental driver for that, as it often has been, is our economics. We have relentlessly innovated, whether longer blades, taller towers, more effective, higher capacity in the turbines. And we've relentlessly cut costs during that same process. Our productivity is up 70% and costs down 70% since 2009. As a result of those improvements, we are now over 40% of the electric generation in Iowa and Kansas is wind energy, and 14 states have over 10% wind energy. And several times this last year in ERCOT and SPP, more than 50% of all of their electricity was wind energy. We have now over 120,000 jobs in all 50 states, and we have an increasing number of factories, now 530 factories here in the United States and a growing number of factories. We also have nearly unmatched investments in rural America. Each year, we invest over $1.6 billion in land lease payments and in state and local taxes. And on top of all that, we ended 2019 with almost an unprecedented pipeline, over 40 gigawatts of wind that was either in construction or advanced stages of development. On top of that pipeline, we have the offshore wind segment that is obviously taking off as we speak. We've sparked a new energy source for America and have over 25 gigawatts of wind energy, offshore wind energy, targeted up and down the East Coast. So we ended 2019 with a lot of momentum, driven by the improving economics, driven also by growing demand for clean energy, and I want to talk more about that in a minute, and by relatively stable public policy that clearly was helpful for this industry. So that's a quick summary of the past, or at least as we felt it in 2019, a few short months ago. As to the present, obviously the COVID pandemic was an economic buzzsaw for the US and the world economy, causing significant supply chain disruptions throughout the world and in the US, transportation challenges throughout the world and in the US. We had work shortage or stoppages in a number of different states, and we're facing some significant financing challenges. And then lastly, some uncertainty can we or could we meet our deadlines at year end this year and future years for the tax credits? The first priority for the industry has been worker safety. Let's make sure our workers remain safe in regards to COVID. The next priority has been to keep that momentum with the pipeline going, to get these projects in the pipeline up and running and on the grid. And AWEA has been working with you, and I would just like to give a huge shout out to the AWEA staff. Know that they've been working day and night, weekends. It's been many mornings. We start with a 7 a.m. phone call with staff and working through the nights, et cetera, to be able to respond to the challenges that you all are facing day in and day out with COVID. Some of the things that we've done very much with many of our AWEA committees and with many of you, we have prepared and published an impact analysis of COVID on the industry and created a new web page to drive, whether it's journalists or our members, to know how we should be responding. We also have a live database of the state-by-state stay-at-home and essential business orders. We also, with our committees, released the Environment Health Safety Guidance for pandemics for your use. Simultaneously, we've been working, educating the administration, Department of Energy, Department of Homeland Security for the critical infrastructure worker guidance. We also have been working with Congress, and we're able to request and get several letters from senior leaders in Congress calling for assistance to the wind industry. Related to that, we were also seeking and then ended up securing a 1-year additional flexibility from Treasury, and we want to very much thank them for that, to the safe harbor provision that now gives us not 4 years, but 5 years to complete those projects started in 2016 or 2017. So those projects that were due online at the end of 2020 have an additional year, and same for those that were due online at the end of 2021. So we've been working hard with you and for you, but frankly, there is more work to do. While the Treasury guidance is very helpful for the industry, there is more that we need to do to support the offshore wind industry, which has some very unique and significant challenges, as that 1-year extension is not helpful for them. We also need to secure direct pay or something similar to direct pay. So we're working with Congress so that, given the tightness in tax equity, we've got ways of monetizing our tax credits more effectively. We also need to work to secure in the stimulus, whether it's additional support for transmission or grid enhancements, but know that we believe there is more work to be done with and for this great industry as the economy hopefully, and I believe will, recover. Simultaneously, we have continued the work on our 3 priority programs. You'll recall, hopefully, last year at Wind Power, I talked about our 3 priority programs: market design and transmission, carbon, and siting. Those programs are still our top priority, and we have been making significant progress on them the last several months. So this is clearly a very challenging year. And with that as a construct, let me now start talking about the future. Because despite the world's economic challenges, renewables in general and wind in particular have a great, bright, extraordinary future. And why am I so convinced of that? First, again, our economics. As to wind, but I know this increasingly applies to solar and renewables in general and storage, but wind right now is the cheapest source of new electricity, and we even beat the marginal cost of existing power plants. And I know in a few minutes, Abby Hopper will be talking in solar about the dramatic cost reductions there, and same with storage, and hydro is increasingly important on the grid. So the economics of renewables are so doggone compelling that our future is bright because of the economics. But it's also bright because of consumer demand. Utilities are increasingly buying or building more renewables. Corporate and industrial customers, and it's not just the Facebooks or the Microsoft, but it's GM, it's Walmart, Procter & Gamble are buying renewables as well. One anecdote in the wind space, we had in 2013, 800 megawatts of wind were purchased by C&I customers. In 2019, that 800 has grown to 16,000 megawatts of wind purchased by CNIs. So corporate industrials are growing, and WoodMac even estimates that Fortune 1000 companies will procure 85,000 megawatts of additional renewable power by 2030. Now, why all this increase in purchases of renewable by utilities and CNI? One of the key drivers, consumers, Americans are asking for it. Poll after poll is making this case. You can look at a Pew study at the end of 2019 that found 85% of Americans across party lines want more wind energy. A 2020 poll from Public Opinion Strategies found 88% of people said it's important that the companies that they patronize use renewable energy. So Americans want more renewable energy, and that's why utilities, CNIs are buying it. Americans want it, and we're cost effective. Also, a final point, an important point, especially in this current recession and the unemployment that we face, renewable energy means jobs. On the offshore front alone, we're looking at 83,000 new wind jobs between now and 2030. Wind in total will double up to 240,000 jobs. And here again, I know the panel coming up with solar and hydro and storage leaders will talk as well about more jobs because of renewable energy. But it's tough to think about going from this bright future from the depths of where we are in a doggone tough economic recession here in the US with job losses, with low electricity demand, to this exciting future. So we have worked to create a vision. And this is an effort that we've been doing with the wind and solar and hydro and storage associations to articulate a vision to help all of us in our industries and the American economy climb out of this recession, to remind ourselves of the potential for renewable energies, the growth that we have. So we've worked to craft a very simple, a very compelling, I think a very exciting vision, with the right kind of support in an economic stimulus bill that Congress hopefully will pass. This vision is not only attainable, but I believe is even exceedable. And pursuing this vision that we're going to talk about will create hundreds of thousands of jobs while providing low cost, clean, and reliable electricity for all Americans. In summary, it's a vision, as you probably saw in the run of show, and it's a titled panel, Majority Renewables by 2030. And I really look forward to this panel with the leaders of the other trades to talk through with you, answer your questions, and have a great dialogue about our extraordinary future in renewables, a majority renewables by 2030. Now, before I ask Chris Brown to say a few words, I do want to talk briefly about American Wind Week. We have it coming up again this year in August. It's going to be an exciting wind week, but it is going to be a different wind week. So we need you to stay tuned about how we're going to run it this year. But we do know the theme, appropriately designed this year for American Wind Week, is Wind Builds the Future. And I think that's appropriate given the vision that we're talking about and the potential and the need for the country, for our industry to be growing and hiring and creating an economic future for all. So with that, I'm pleased to now ask our incoming chair of the board, Chris Brown. You know Chris well. He's the head of Vestas North America. He's a great leader of Vestas, a great leader for the board. He's coming back for his second tour of duty as chair of the board. Chris, I'm not sure if you wanted more fun or obviously there's more good work to do, but let me now turn the mic over to Chris. Chris, look forward to hearing your thoughts and guidance as chair of the AWEA board here today.
Okay.
Chris, you're on. Would love to have your thoughts today. And by the way, I'll also say thank you. We had a great board meeting yesterday. I guess that was your first day as chair, but heck of a way to start. Welcome back to chairing the board and good to have you here this morning.
Oh, thanks, Tom, and appreciate your remarks. Yesterday seemed to be long, but again, when you're sheltering in place wherever you are, it's easier and harder at the same time. So, I wish we could be in Denver. We would have loved to welcome you. We have 5,000 strong in Denver, but obviously, as Jana had mentioned earlier, let's get it started. So, I'm good to go.
That sounds great, Chris. Would love to hear your thoughts this morning as incoming chair.
Gotcha.